Here in the UK, spring has well and truly sprung, bringing with it a patch of fine weather which, whilst hasn't been perfect for photography, has been great for the garden and also has been wonderful for the wildflowers. So it's that time of the year, a bit earlier than normal, where everybody in the UK who owns a camera heads to the local woodland in a quest to photograph bluebells. And in this video I'm hoping to share 3 different ways that you can photograph them if you're heading out on this quest yourself. So continue watching this video to join me in North Yorkshire, where I visit the beautiful Newton Under Roseberry. Hi guys, welcome to another video and welcome to the beautiful Newton Under Roseberry. Now, I've found my first subject, which happens of course to be right a nice big patch of nettles, so I'm trying not to get stung. But I think what I would like to say at this point in the video, before we go any further, how I approach wildflower photography is almost like how a portrait photographer would approach portrait photography. And it's all about your subject, isn't it? It's all about the person you're going to photograph or the flower you're going to photograph. So I've spent a good half an hour in this small little patch here just exploring little areas and different angles and trying to find the perfect subject, I suppose, but also being very mindful that I don't want to stamp down all the flowers. Now, actually, as it happens, there's quite a few patches which have been stamped down, which I'm not guilty of, but yeah, I'm being very careful to make sure there's no more damage. Right, this is a really painful spot, I'll be honest. So my plan with this first shot, because as I said at the start, I want to take 3 very different photos. And what I want to do is, first of all, almost like a floral portrait as such, so more of a detail of a flower. And for this shot, I want a nice background which has a lot of interest, out of focus. So really, we're not talking front to back sharpness in this shot at all. That's not what I'm looking for. It's very much a portrait of this little patch of bluebells here, with the white flowers behind, totally out of focus is the plan. All right, I'm just fine-tuning this composition a little bit. I've got a little patch, I'm using the white flowers out of focus as I said, and I've got a little patch where there's no flowers, so I'm trying to drop the leg down a fraction, I'm hoping. It would have been nice if perhaps you used the little tripod that you guys are on. Yeah, that's far nicer. It's amazing this sort of photography, how just dropping it down a fraction, a slight change of angle can make a world of difference. I'm going to put a polarising filter on. Right, so just in case you're wondering why I'm dropping a polarising filter on, it's to try and cut some of these highlights off the flower. And that's worked nicely actually. Now I'm on ISO Auto, which I wouldn't normally be on. But because it's a bit breezy, I think it's quite a good idea. Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about the breeze actually, so I'm going to go to shutter priority. No, actually we're going to go to manual, sorry. And set for 500th of a second, which I'm hoping is going to eradicate any of that movement from the slight breeze. It's looking nice. I'm also going to try using the humble reflector, bounce a bit of light back in. Now I'm not going to bounce gold light back because I think that might be a bit sickly. But I am going to bounce some white light back. Well, just normal daylight. So yeah, quite a simple shot. 500th of a second, f4, ISO 250, and I'll put it up on the screen for you now. I hope you enjoyed that shot. It was quite a simple one. Really, the main reason it worked was because I was shooting my lens wide open and I was getting as close as I could possibly get to that flower to try and throw as much of the background out of focus. So it really did all work on selective focus, because the out of focus background was just as important as the actual subject. Now, I'll be honest, when I was planning this video, that wasn't going to be the first technique I was going to cover. And the first technique I was going to cover was to be shooting a flower with a black background. Now, you know, I've covered this a few times, so I felt it wasn't really worthwhile covering it yet again, but I will leave a link at the end of this video so you can watch that video if you want, if you're interested to know how you can take these sort of photos of flowers and black backgrounds. But of course, with that technique, you're shooting at f22 or something, so pretty much everything in your subject is in focus. But with the photo I just showed you, obviously only a minimum amount of the actual flower was in focus. So very creative, perhaps a bit Marmite-y. You either like that technique or you don't. You like that look or you don't as such. But yeah, I think it was a nice start to the day. Now, as you can see, the technique I'm using for this shot is very different to the technique I used from the first shot, because the first shot I was on a tripod and locking everything down, and this shot I'm just sort of wiggling the camera around. But interestingly, the results are quite similar. Now, the first shot, if you remember, it worked on minimum depth of field. So basically what we had was, we had the flower in focus and everything behind it out of focus to give the impression of the flowers behind. So you pretty much, you knew it was flowers, but you didn't see them properly. It definitely wasn't pin sharp flowers. This shot was just to open up the landscape a little bit more. And in order to do this, I'm using ICM, or intentional camera movement. Now, I have done a couple of videos about this, and I'm going to confess now that I'm not an expert at it. For me, it's a bit of trial and error. It's something I would like to do more of. I need to carry on practicing and getting better at it. But I thought for this shot, I thought it might be quite a nice thing to do. So what I've done is I've left it in manual mode. I've fitted an ND8 neutral density filter. I've got myself on f14. Honestly, I'm not going to worry about refraction. I'm blurring the whole thing anyway, so no concern. I'm at base ISO 100 and I am on 1/3 of a second. And basically, during the pictures taking stage, I am, before taking the shot, moving it slightly, and whilst moving it, triggering the shutter. And it's really that simple. But it is a really nice creative technique, and it does produce this really nice sort of impressionist view of the landscape. Now, it reminds me of a painting, but it also reminds me of back in the day of film, and you can do it with digital as well, where you would get some Vaseline and smear it on the front of your lens and then go and take a shot and everything be sort of miraculously out of focus. And it's the same deal as that, really, but it's a lovely way to pass some time. And I think in this age of digital photography, where we try and nail everything to get as sharp and clinically sharp as possible, and to get that best result that you can possibly get at a technical level, to then have this technique where you can just wiggle your camera around a little bit and get this beautifully out of focus shot, but you know exactly what it is, but it doesn't look like a photography. Well, I think it's a wonderful thing, I really do. And I hope you do too. So yeah, when everything falls into the place, here's the shot. So it's the final shot of the day, and it could be argued that this isn't actually a photograph of bluebells at all. But it is. It definitely is. If I swing you round, it's all about this splash of colour here, this blue going through the frame over to there with Roseberry topping in the distance. So yeah, it's a photograph of Roseberry topping with bluebells adding that colour at the front. It could be argued this shot's totally the reverse of the first shot. You know, the first shot was all about bluebells being prominent, with everything else sort of forming a backdrop to them. And this shot's all about the landscape being the most important thing, but with the bluebells just giving that hint of colour, that the suggestion of what time of the year it is, because you know, by looking at it, you know it's going to be April, May. And it lifts the whole scene. I photographed this scene throughout the year, and honestly, it looks the nicest now. This little bit of blue, just to lift it all up. If you're watching a film, you normally find that you have establishing shots, sort of wide shots, and then you sort of gradually coming more into the details. And the same goes for sort of magazine editorial articles, I suppose, and things like that. And that's what we've effectively done here. Okay, we've taken the photos in a back to front process that we're ending with the wide shot and then narrowing down, because this is the edge of the woodland, and it sort of narrows down to the idea of you then being in the woodland to then the bluebells being flowering. So a reverse cycle as such. But all three shots are important as each other, and I think all three of them really together do tell a story. And I think with photography, ultimately that's what you're trying to do, isn't it? You're either trying to create one picture that is so outstanding that it's just nice to look at, it's gorgeous to look at, or sometimes if you're using more than one picture, maybe if you're using two or three, then effectively you're trying to tell a story. Think triptychs I think of generally telling stories. You have three photos that work together, and I think what we've done today is we've come out and we've taken three photos that work together, even though you use three very different techniques. But going back to this shot, it's basically, I am composing around the tree here. The tree's on the left hand side, and you've got the tree just behind, roseberry topping in the distance. It's a very, very simple scene which I've photographed before. It's very reliant on these clouds being nice, and at the moment I've got my doubts of whether they're actually going to get any better. I'm going to hang around a little bit and see what happens, but I think, yeah, I'm not overly optimistic, because my worry is that the clouds are just going to burn off and we're just going to be left with a dull blue sky. I think I've got a shot so far that's okay, to be honest, so I'm hoping we can improve on it and it doesn't get worse. Technical details, it's pretty straightforward. ISO 100, f14, it is giving me a 30th of a second. It's not technical at all, and I could quite easily hold this handheld and slightly increase the ISO, but I've got myself in place. Watch what's happening. I have put a polarizing filter on, which is doing a little bit to the clouds, not much, but a little bit, you know, every little bit helps. So guys, I'm just going to hang around here a bit, have something to eat, have a drink, see what happens with the clouds, and when I think I've got the shot, here it is. So that's the final shot, guys. As you can see, we're getting shadow coming here from the bottom, from the trees nearby coming through, and it's on hit my tree at the front, and my tree's now casting a shadow. And it's not looking as clean as it was. The clouds are quite nice in the sky, but I think they're also going to burn off. So I think I've actually got the shot I wanted at the appropriate time. Which brings the debate in, really, starts the debate of should we always be photographing during the golden hour, because I'm guilty of being a bit of a golden hour junkie and thinking like, you know, I'll just go out at golden hour and I don't photograph much for the rest of the day, but I'm fully realised that that's very foolish of me, and I'm missing opportunities, and it's not something I ever did when I first started, so it's almost like a bad habit I've picked up along the way over the last 25 years as doing this as a living. Hey, we live and learn, eh? We live and learn. So I think the point of this video, as ever, there always has to be some sort of point, is first of all, enjoy your photography, of course, but when you're out and you're photographing bluebells or any sort of wildflower, it doesn't have to be a clinically sharp, sterile photo of your subject. You know, not everything has to have front to back sharpness. Don't be worried if parts of the flower are out of focus. Don't be worried if parts of the scene are out of focus. Or even if parts of the scene have a bit of movement blur. Just don't get too wrapped up about these things, because there is definitely far more to photography than just getting that clinically perfect shot. Right guys, on that note, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you soon for another one. Thanks for watching.